Chapter. We're talking real money.
Charles Dow's body lies a moldering in its grave. It's time for his index to suffer the same damn fate. It's time to kill the Dow. Can we stop talking about the Dow Jones 30 industrial average? Which, folks,
it's below average, by the way.
That's just a lazy person's way of saying, I can't calculate the value of all the stocks on the market in the 1880s, so let's just add a couple up and divide them by 30. I mean, for God's sake, it is the dumbest thing ever, and yet...
you got to stop there.
What?
Yes, people need to understand that they come up with the DJIA average, the Dow Jones just right. It's just what you just said. They add up the price of the securities.
Right.
So
not adjusted by their capitalization.
I know. It's really stupid.
So, I mean, like if Berkshire Hathaway was in there, it would make up 92% of the Dow or something. I don't know. I made that number up, folks. I made that number up because I didn't think
it has nothing to do with the value of the company. It's just the value of the stock.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with diddly-doo-doo.
Well,
it does not. It does not. It is the dumbest thing for us to still be quoting. And this is, it's the same reason we still use pennies. And I'm with Trump on this one.
Finally. Yeah. The penny is
we
dumb. Talked about this on the podcast a few months ago.
Did.
Yeah, like get rid of the penny.
The penny is dumb. It's an anachronism, and we're just doing it because it's a momentum thing.
Exactly.
And
there's people that just keep doing it.
I listen to the news and I listen to NPR news on the radio. Sorry, Northwest News Radio. I listen to NPR news on the radio. And every day, this is NPR news. The Dow Industrials are, and I go, no, please. So what can we do about this?
Yeah, well, let's give you a few numbers first. Okay, so we told you how the Dow is calculated. 30 companies.
Right.
Price of the share.
Price of one share of each of these 30 companies.
Added together and divided.
Added together and divided by 30. That's it.
It's abacuses and, not even back of the envelope.
Heck, you could do this on your fingers almost.
So, and
fingers and toes.
And it's not performed very well. It fell behind the S&P 500 by 10 percentage points in both 2023 and 2024. That's the worst going back to 1957. And it's worse.
So it doesn't even emulate the large cap U.S. market.
And that's what people used to say. Hey, these are the 30 industrials. This is the heart of America.
Oh, by the way, 30 industrials. Is technology an industrial now? Industrial's kind of like steel and cars and
stuff. Not air. Yeah, I get it. It also had its worst day-by-day losing streak since 1974, which is going back, well, not quite as far as 1957. And you mentioned it. The big problem is big tech. It's the companies that you've come to learn and know and hate in some ways: Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla, which make up a third of the S&P 500. They only make up about 14%, about half of that in the Dow Jones Industrial Average.
Well, wait, doesn't that make it better then from your perspective?
No, it doesn't. No, because the other companies in it are not representative of the economy. Can't be. First of all, 30 companies is a very short list. Number two, how are they picked? Do you know this?
Yeah, a bunch of people get together in a room. They literally get together in a room.
Smoke-filled room. What?
Yeah. Well, it's not smoke-filled anymore.
Political convention of, 1860 or something. I mean, so they sit around and they come up with them. There's a committee.
Come on, Boeing's still in it.
Yeah.
No.
One of the worst performers the last few years. And by the way, I think there was a decade where it was the best performer in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, if I remember correctly. But the S&P Dow Jones indices, part of the S&P Global, decides which companies get into the index. By the way, the committee includes 2 Wall Street Journal editors, which picked Microsoft and Intel just before the dot-com bubble burst. I mean, they said, oh, yeah, we got to add technology. Oh, shoot, it's 2000.
Oh,
went straight down.
And it's very arbitrary. It's totally a really arbitrary process.
Yeah.
There are no standards.
Couldn't agree more. Anyway, so And so it doesn't have a similar direction to it as the S&P 500, which, again, doesn't matter to me. None of this matters. What matters is what you just said, Don. It shouldn't matter. You shouldn't be paying attention to it. When you hear that number, you should say, well, oops, I'm going back to my podcast or something.
And by
instead.
the way, I have tried for years, and I know literally decades, to dump the dumb Dow. As a matter of fact, I even had a website. I had a website, dumpdumbdow.com. And I mean, the headline on the front page said, the Dow Jones Industrial Average predates printing adding machines.
I said abacus or something.
And so I was just trying, my goal was to try to get news organizations, people in the media, to just stop using it. Now, we do not use it.
Nope.
We do not say the Dow did what. No, we don't do that. We're one of the few because everybody else
I don't know about that, but I don't listen to a lot of financial media. So.
No, I'm talking about the mainstream flipping media.
So if I go to CNBC Scroll, it'll be up there?
No. Well, who cares about this? I'm talking about mainstream. Like if you watch the NBC Nightly News and the market
Dow Jones lost blank.
That Lester Holt is going to say, boy, it's a bad day at Wall Street. Yeah. The Dow down. And they do it on NPR News every single top of the hour news break. We've tried to convince them to do it. So I believe now it is the responsibility of one organization to make this go away.
Dow Jones.
No. Now, do you know who owns the Dow Jones Index?
I believe it would be the same people that own the Wall Street Journal, right?
You're wrong. See, that's where you would be wrong.
Okay. Go ahead. Hit me.
The Dow Jones indices and averages are owned by Standard & Poor's.
Okay, pardon me.
You would think it would be in Standard & Poor's best interests.
Get rid of that one to highlight S&P 500.
I am reading from S&P's own internal document. You ready?
Doesn't sound very internal if you're reading it.
Well, it's just, it's their rules.
Okay.
From time to time, changes in, among other things, geopolitics, financial markets, or market structure, an index is no longer representative of its intended function, availability of necessary and reliable data, regulatory changes, index duplication, and or customer demand may lead to S&P DJI's determination to cease publication of one or more indexes. In other words, they have it built into their structure that if an index is stupid, basically, it says customer demand, intended function, availability of other data, they can get rid of an index.
They're never going to do it, though, because they're getting paid for people using it. There's people that have funds that are based on it.
Other indexes.
Yeah, they could. But, yeah.
It's not going to be that much. There aren't that many Dow indexes.
That I do not know. Give us the companies in the Dow.
Oh, I had that list.
I know you did. Ago. Because I think if you hear who's in the Dow Jones Industrial Average.
Here. All right, here we go.
You might be surprised. Please.
Would you like the whole 30 of them? Do you? It's a
top to bottom. Give them everything.
It's a dramatic reading of the Dow Jones
the whole
Industrial
9 yards.
Average.
Yep.
Apple Incorporated. NVIDIA Corporation. Microsoft Corporation. Amazon.com Incorporated. Walmart Incorporated. JP Morgan Chase and Company. Visa Incorporated. United Health Group Incorporated. Home Depot Incorporated. The Procter & Gamble Company. You notice I did it like the football players who say the Ohio State?
Yeah, which I always love.
The Procter & Gamble Company. Johnson & Johnson. Salesforce Incorporated. The Coca-Cola Company. Chevron Corporation. Cisco Systems Incorporated. International Business Machines. McDonald's Corporation. Merck and Company. The Goldman Sachs Group. American Express Company. The Walt Disney Company. Caterpillar Incorporated. Verizon Communications Incorporated. Amgen Incorporated. The Boeing Company. Honeywell International Incorporated. Nike Incorporated. I mispronounced that one on purpose. The Sherwin-Williams Company, 3M Company, 3M, and finally, the Travelers Companies. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, so you can see clearly.
No applause. It's okay.
No, well, yeah, because you really only did the interpretation for your favorite company, the Walt Disney Company.
Walt Disney Company.
Yeah, that you didn't give anybody else the favor of your.
I did it in the deep voice.
Extensive talent. Okay, but there's a few there that, well, it doesn't reflect, I don't think, today's economy and the domination of big technology by any stretch.
Paint does not. I'm joking.
I'm sorry.
Paint.
Travelers. Paint.
Travelers. Yeah.
3M. Yeah. I mean, some of these are like, yeah, okay, that was a big deal like 40 years ago. But okay, setting all that aside, I mean, the part that
come on, caterpillars become butterflies. What are you talking about?
That's right. There is an evolution there that I shouldn't ignore. But let me just ask you a question, because when I read this again, and this is earth that we've plowed before, as you said, you had a major campaign.
Dump Dow.
Yeah, but should you trust any index? In other words, I
wasn't prepared for this bigger question.
I know, because
I didn't see it on the
people. Here's the problem I have with any index: they think it's objective. Every index is subjective in some manner.
I disagree. No, how is the S&P?
There was somebody came
subjective.
Up with a way to measure companies and decided these are the way to measure them.
No, I disagree with you.
Okay.
No, because at least the S&P, you have rules, absolute rules.
But that's subjective. Those are rules someone designed.
The largest market capitalization?
That's a rule. Why is that more important than the Russell 2000?
That's based on market capitalization too.
But I'm just saying, why is market cap? Why not do it by revenues? There's 100 other ways you could measure companies. In other words, this is one way. So
I think that's a stretch, but I'm going to go.
Okay.
I'm going to let you just do that.
Thank you. Well, you laughed at one of my jokes last weekend, so I'm questioning your judgment.
I think I'm losing my mind.
What I'm going to say, that dinner last night came up. They're like, "Wait, Don laughed at one of your jokes. Is he okay?"
Yeah, no,
well, maybe not. Not, but
it's the beginning of the end for me. Sorry, folks.
So isn't there? Didn't we used to quote a global index of some kind, like VG or something?
Oh, and it went away.
I think it
went away.
Because that's the one I think you should look at.
It was the Dow Global Index, but again, the Dow Global Index or whatever it is now is, Tom. It's based on market capitalization.
I know, which that's why I think. That's troublesome in some manner. You're right. What else? Well, you got to have a yardstick. You
got to have a yardstick.
Gross revenues. Yeah. But
got to have a yardstick.
It's still subjective. They all have rules that were designed by a person.
Okay. Well, then that's saying that every single thing, there is no objective reality because it's all from the human mind.
There's
and
only
this
one.
Is a little. This is a little too.
There's only one objective reality in the world that I know of.
Whitman is a very practical college. You didn't take like.
Philosophy I took all that stuff. The only hard and fast rule you can live by is
you read Nietzsche and all of that stuff.
When I blow the whistle and point a certain direction, that's the correct direction. That's the only objective you really need to know. Period.
As his television can attest every time he watches a soccer match.
It's true.
I know more about soccer than you do. Anyway, what do you got now?
I got questions, but we're gonna say it again. All right.
Kill the Dow.
Thank you.
Dump the dumb Dow.
Dump the Dow. That's better. What was your website? What was it called?
dumpdumbdow.com.
Okay. It's still up there, I assume?
No.
It's gone.
Did you want to keep paying for that?
No, I do not.
Right, exactly.
Even if it's $100 a year, I'd prefer not to. All right.
And that's about what it was. It was costing us $200 a year, so I shut it down.
There you go. All right. Let's see if we can get to a few
questions.
Because
no one listened.
I know. Well, I don't know about no one, but your stated goal was to make NPR fix, and they did not. We'll leave it at that. Josh writes us from Blaine, Michigan. I'm an index investor who's been unable to persuade his retired father to drop his financial advisor. Last year, Dad's advisor suggested he get more aggressive, which is fine with me. But the 4 funds he moved into strike me as really expensive, overly and unnecessarily complex hodgepodge, intended to create the impression that the advisor is doing something sophisticated and therefore earning his fee.
Code.
All right, but let me give you two of the funds.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me get my screen
you ready?
up. Almost. Gosh, just takes a minute.
Yeah.
Why is it taking so long? Okay, go.
All right, here we go. AMEFX.
AMEFX.
Yeah, I believe that's the American Funds
Income
Growth
Fund of America.
Yeah.
Income Fund of America.
It's a balanced fund, right?
It's an income fund. It's not really balanced. What they're looking for is dividend paying stocks and bonds.
Yeah. Okay.
And it is about a 70-30 stock to bond ratio.
That's why I saw it as balanced, but okay. I see what you're saying. They're looking for payouts.
Yeah, they're looking for payouts.
Yeah. And it's 0.37.
Yes.
Which is not horrible.
That actually, for an American fund, that's pretty cheap with a 4% yield. So you can see that tilt toward dividends.
Yeah. All right. Our PALPX, which has a 0.96
that's a PIMCO
expense ratio.
All asset. Yeah, 0.96. Woo, doggy.
In today's world, no.
That's a
I don't care who you are.
And because that's from PIMCO, that's a bond fund with bonds and more bonds in it.
Yeah. I don't care if you're Warren Buffett or Jimmy Buffett. I'm not going to pay you 0.96.
Yeah, it's got almost no equities in it. It borrows tons of money. So
this is the part that we've touched on about some of these bond funds. They're levering up.
Yeah, so the reason they're able to pay a 5.7% yield is because of the leverage and the alternative assets that they own in the portfolio. You also have to bear in mind that to get that kind of yield means not only the risk of leverage, but quality risk. Their portfolio is, let's see, it's about 10% junk or non-rated paper.
So if that wasn't bad enough, people forget that leverage works both ways. It can work well going up. It can work really poorly going down. I mean,
right.
Forget that.
Now, it is also a fund of funds. So it's PIMCO's funds inside PIMCO's fund.
Yeah. All right. Let's give you a couple other ones. PAUPX.
PAUPX?
Yeah. I believe that's another PIMCO bond fund.
Well, with the P in front of it, you would think so.
Good guess.
Is the PIMCO All Asset All Authority.
Yeah. Did you see the expense ratio on this one?
Oh, my heavens. Oh, my. Well, wait. What is the before they eat some of the expense ratio? You know what it is before?
No.
They eat some of their expenses.
Discount? Yeah, how much?
They're eating some of their expenses. Their real expense ratio is 3.02.
Wow.
But they're eating some of that. And again, this is a fund of funds, and it is even more heavily levered than the other one.
Yeah. All right.
And thus the high yield. Now,
which is what? What's the yield on this one?
No, it's not that high. It's 2.49.
Get that on.
Let me look at this again.
Boring
and it's
old
all
treasuries.
fixed income. What the heck? I'm not sure. But, man, that is a pricey fund. Well, that's probably why the expense ratio is eating up so much of the yield.
Ugh. That's expensive. All right, and then the final.
This is bad advice. This guy should be fired.
This is the final one. FRIAX. FRIAX.
FRIAX? Oh, Franklin Income. So these are all income funds.
And they're all actively managed.
Again, high yield, 5.7. It's a 70 or 30-70 split.
I saw expense ratio 0.46.
And, wow, get this. You know how they pay that really, really wonderful yield? The bulk of the portfolio, the majority of the portfolio, the majority is junk.
Okay, so I didn't finish the statement, which you're going to find interesting, from Josh. He says, Dad is in his late 70s with about $600,000 invested. He really doesn't need this money and can afford to take risks with it. Now, this portfolio is built for somebody who wants income.
Right. It's totally built for someone who needs to stretch for income and take higher than necessary risks.
For income. And if you don't need income, why would you have this kind of portfolio? You should really be in stocks primarily and way cheaper.
Well, but again, it's not a matter of it's the risk, the whole risk profile.
Well,
while he can take higher risk.
Fair enough.
Is he comfortable with that? But
beyond
if
that,
he had a 100% equity portfolio, I'd have to sit down and really do some calculating. But my guess is that having a 100% globally diversified equity portfolio would probably be inherently less risky in terms of volatility than this portfolio is likely to be at a dramatically reduced cost. You could own equities for a fraction of what you own supposedly safe bonds, which, by the way, this portfolio is far from safe.
No, fair enough. All right. Barrett writes us from Minnetonka, Minnesota. Wait, we got two questions from Minnesota.
When I came back from retirement a couple weeks ago, I went through Minneapolis.
Yeah?
You
went slow over Minnetonka?
I could not believe how cold it was in that jetway. I didn't even go outside. And you look down the jetway, and I'm going, oh, my God, this is a really long jetway. We got in there, and I went, where are the slabs of beef?
Hanging from the sides. All right, Barrett writes us, 52 years old, plan to retire in 3 to 7 years under the special provisions of our law enforcement. Okay, well, thank you for your service. My Vanguard advisors encourage me to begin contributing to taxable accounts in order to have a pot of money to use in retirement that is not under what he calls extra taxable rules. What we're talking about here is pre-tax and post-tax. Yeah. I have a total of $100,000 in Roth TSP and another $1 million in traditional TSP. Of course, I will always contribute to 5% to get the government matching. But at what point should I contribute less to a TSP traditional and shift that to a taxable account?
When you retire.
No, I disagree with you. I think this advisor is right. Yes.
No.
Because
why?
Here's why. First, part one, you'd have to look at what your current income is today, right? How much you're paying in taxes on that income. But I think to keep piling into, and at a relatively young age at 52, into pre-tax, you're building this huge pile that you're going to have to eventually take out. He's probably pension eligible too, being in law enforcement. So I would like to see him spread it out into post-tax as well. So
why?
You have different.
No, I disagree with you.
Well, because you don't face then the RMD tsunami he's going to face at 75 years old.
So what?
Nah, I think you're wrong on that one.
No, because
I like the advice.
I don't, because here's what I'm thinking. If I am, and again, you're right, it depends on the bracket. But if I'm working and I'm in the 24% bracket.
He's not.
How do you know?
He's in law enforcement.
You don't know he's not in the 24 though, with all his
I don't
stuff.
know it, but I'm guessing.
Okay, if he's in the 18 or the 4, I don't know what the brackets, what his bracket
22,
is. But,
24.
But let's talk about the fact that if you earn the money, then you're going to pay X amount to the state of Minnesota and to the United States government. So let's say it's 20% of that.
Yep.
So out of every $1,000 you make, you're handing them $200. That $200 is not going to earn you a penny because it's in the pocket of the government now.
Yep.
Now you can get another 20 years, 20 plus years of tax deferred growth on that extra $200. That's like the government saying, here, I'm going to give you $200, and in 20 years, you got to pay it back to me.
But at 75, you're going to start taking it out. It's going to be humongous.
You got to pay it back to me.
Your bracket's going to go up, et cetera, et cetera.
So what?
I would rather level it out. So I'm with them, but we can have a difference of opinion.
Here's what I would do. I would go right up until, particularly if he's getting a match, but I would take the free money from the government because that's what it is.
That's the 5%, I think. Yeah. He gets 5.
Okay, but I would still take the free money from the government and make money on it over the next 20 years, because it's not like I'm retiring and RMDing in just a couple of years. I'm RMDing in 20 years.
It's a long time. I'll give you that.
And then if I'm still a good saver and investor and I don't need all I've got, then I could put it into a taxable account.
Yeah, by the way, having more money in a taxable account will allow you to build portfolios a little bit differently as well. So anyway, fair enough. We're doing a different opinion on that one.
A little different, because I want to take the free money. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what tax rates will be like in the future. And you can say, oh, they'll be higher. I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Maybe we have a president who says no, or a Congress that says no, we're going to charge lower tax rates on all this retirement tsunami money. So we don't know. I want to take the bird in the hand. I'm a big bird in the hand fan.
Yeah. You could, but your advisor, if you wanted to, could plug it all in under current tax policy and show you what it might look like in 20 years.
If you got a good advisor.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But fair enough. Your opinion is a reasonable one. That's all I got, man.
Well, then we better go.
I know. Get out of here.
We've done our thing. I'm just checking. 25 minutes. That's a great time, just like the previous one we did. Nicely done.
Thank you.
And please, again, there is not a finite supply of electrons. At least not yet. We have not reached the finite supply of electrons beaming through the cables around, or the sky around the globe or the universe. So there is an infinite supply of space for people to listen to our podcast, or at least darn close to it, the equivalent of infinite. So please tell everybody to listen to this podcast, because agree with us or disagree with us. The one thing you must agree with, if you've listened for more than 12 seconds, is that we really do want to help people build a better future. Whether we're doing it the way you think is right or not, that's not the point. We're doing what we believe is the correct way to help people improve their futures financially. That is our goal, and that is what we have lived by for many decades to come. And, you don't know how much longer we have to live, so you better listen. This could be your last chance with us.
Ooh, I'm not feeling too well.
Killed him. I'm not quite dead.
Close enough, sir.
I'm feeling much better.
Because we're going to be sitting around and what is it? I forget. What is it we're due? It's
talking real money.
The opinions and views expressed on this podcast were current on the date recorded. Opinions, estimates, forecasts, and statements of financial market trends that are based on current market conditions constitute our judgment and are subject to change without notice, including any forward-looking estimates or statements which are based on certain expectations and assumptions. Although information and opinions given have been obtained from or based on sources believed to be reliable, no warranty or representation is made as to their correctness, completeness, or accuracy. Information presented on the podcast is not personalized investment advice from Appella Wealth. The views and strategies described may not be suitable for everyone. This podcast does not identify all the risks, direct or indirect, or other considerations which might be material to you when entering any financial transaction. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and profitable results cannot be guaranteed. We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for informational, educational, and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. The podcast is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Appella Wealth, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Please see Appella Wealth's ADV Part 2A on our website for information regarding Appella's fees and services. Appella Capital, LLC, DBA Appella Wealth, is an investment advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The firm only transacts business in the states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration with the SEC or any state securities authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Appella does not provide tax or legal advice, and nothing either stated or implied here should be inferred as providing such advice. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and important disclosure related to performance of any specific index or fund quoted in this podcast. And the lawyers get richer.